Go. Welcome, everybody. I've decided to steal that from Armchair Experts and also John Oliver's last week tonight.
Oh, is that what he said?
It's been a busy
so effective.
week. You got to continue with the whole thing.
been.
It's been a busy week. Let's get right into it.
Oh, is that what he says next?
Yeah.
Ironically,
I'm so excited for him to like bang his hands on the table
On the desk.
like a petulant toddler. That I am really just delighted by. Welcome. That's it. So hi, viewers. My name is Amanda. Welcome to the Website 101 podcast, Lunch Bytes. We do this live YouTube streaming on the first and third Wednesday of every month, where we just get together and we talk about web stuff or technology or just whatever we feel like talking about. Hi,
it's been
Sean.
a while.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Sean Smith, one of the other co-hosts, and I'm here to listen to Amanda and Mike because I have nothing to say today. At least nothing planned.
It happens.
I'm sure we can come up with
happens.
something.
Hey, Mike, how are
something
you?
That must have happened. I'm good. How are you guys doing? I guess I'm good. Could be worse.
I'm good.
I wanted
I
to.
took a day trip yesterday
Oh,
for free time.
Yeah, this
Sorry,
is
Amanda,
laggy. We're talking all over each other because it's lagging, I think. So whatever, we'll make do.
yeah. Sorry. Should we like raise hands when we want to say something?
That's a good question.
that.
I wonder how in time that everyone on three raise your hand in front of the camera. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was way off. Of course it was.
But we can
Whoopsie.
work with it in a way that one of us is doing like a monologue or whatever, and the next person just puts their hand up and it's like, oh, okay, oh, Mike wants to go. Mike, you're up. Something like that. I don't know. Something to try.
Or we could just talk over each other. Go.
Thank you. I put my hand up as per Sean's idea, and then I get ignored. So I was wondering if I know that on our Website 101 podcast website, we have obviously posts and entries and whatever about the guests, and about the current episode, well, all of the episodes, an archive of all the episodes, and the current episode. I'm wondering if we should make another entry type for like generic news. And then also in there, we could maybe put like a little summary of what we talked about on each lunch bite with a link to the video. And then also run it through, Sean, maybe can we run the video through that transcription tool?
Oh yeah.
What transcription tool?
On our
If
website.
you go and look at one of the older episode entries, at the bottom, it's like AI generated transcript of the podcast episode.
I forget what free one I was using.
Is it still being used? Like on
Well,
yours?
no, I would log into a website, upload the MP3, and it would spit it out a few minutes later, and then I would just copy, paste, and do some minor formatting. And I did not save the URL. I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be happening for the newer episodes, right?
No, because I haven't actually done it. I forgot about it. And doesn't YouTube just give you transcriptions by default?
Yes.
Yeah.
Regardless, I'm trying to think of more content on the Website 101 podcast website.
No, but he means
could maybe
take it
also
from
point
YouTube
here.
and put it on
Yeah,
that way, I
just
think
copy and paste from YouTube the transcription for the lunch bites.
Sure. But overall, another entry type that would be for news, where we could, say the lunch bites, or, oh, we just recorded with this guest.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea.
For it coming soon. Just
Yeah, sorry, we're laggy as hell here, so
well,
I'm
then
just gonna guess.
maybe we'll discuss later
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I definitely like the idea of promoting these during the, or sorry, cross promoting the podcast and the video stuff, because I think a lot of people, actually, I guess I don't know, but I'm assuming there are some people who just watch us on YouTube but don't listen to the podcast, and vice versa. It'd be nice if they kind of, because some people might not even know that we do the other thing, right? So anyway, I think good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We should definitely make some time and add some templates, build that out.
Yeah. So
It wouldn't even have to be that radically different of a template.
Yeah, that's right. It would just be a category, right? Isn't there categories that we have set up or something?
What I would see doing is just creating a new channel, news or web bytes, whatever we want, finalize it, and then just every 2 weeks, or if we got something news related that's not web byte, just post it and make sure that we can embed the YouTube video.
Well, it's a good idea. I like it. I have an issue I ran into this week that ate up a lot of time, and it was about permissions on the server. There's so many fucking things you have to remember about images have to be, and then if you go to the Craft website, it says, these have to be writable folders and files. If it's the same user as PHP is running as, it's 744 or whatever. If it's in the same group but not the same user, it's 775. But never do 777. And I had to figure out what the hell's going on between production and staging and local. And it's just yet another layer of complexity that we just have to deal with. And that's the end of my story. I'm just complaining as usual. Grumpy complaining.
Yeah, that's never fun.
I have run into permission issues on a lot of projects because yes, it's all of these web servers are Linux operating systems, and all of their, various brand names that go with that, Red Hat, Ubuntu, etc. And they're all about permissions, and it makes sense to keep everything secure, but sometimes, yes, sometimes it does feel like, God, why can't it just be easier?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you remember when it used to be just FTPing stuff up before version control, and that sucks, of course, for a bunch of reasons, but in a bunch of other reasons, it was so much simpler, to just, here it is, I'm going to put it there, and now it's there, Anyways, it was frustrating.
Yes.
So what else is going on, guys?
I had something similar happen to me this week. I think all of us use DDEV as a local development environment, and that runs. It needs Docker desktop to be able to run, and my Docker desktop just wasn't working anymore, and it wouldn't start. I couldn't even find it in the list of programs to uninstall. Like, nothing about it would work. And I'm not the only person who has had this issue. Thankfully, I was able to Google an answer. And it was something about I had to reinstall it and then restart my machine and then delete some settings.json and restart my machine and then reinstall it and then restart my machine and then uninstall it and restart my machine, and then finally reinstall it again and restart my machine, and then it worked.
How?
But
basically what happened
did the
was that
original person figure out how that works? All those restarts and reinstalls.
Basically there was a problem with this settings.json. Docker had changed something, and it was just a syntax error in a JSON file. But it was the fact that you not only had to delete that JSON file, but you also had to uninstall it to reinstall it. And then the fact that it wasn't listed in the list of programs to be able to uninstall meant that you had to restart the machine and look for it again, and it's not there, and delete the JSON and reinstall it, but it didn't make the JSON, so I had to restart it, but it didn't work. But then finally it was in my list, so I could uninstall it. So it was just, basically it was a way I had to get rid of the JSON file and get rid of the program, and then be able to install it again.
I find
So
that
again, it's one of these
Docker-
things that it's like, yeah. Sorry,
Go ahead,
Mike?
sorry, I'm cutting you off again because I'm whatever. Go ahead. You go
No,
ahead.
Mike, you were saying something about Docker. Go.
Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking that I think Docker now is becoming like an operating system in terms of the risk of updating it, because I've had an issue before where I've updated Docker and it broke, I don't know, DDev or something. There was something local that just suddenly wouldn't work because of a compatibility issue. It wasn't compatible with the new, and I just automatically uploaded or updated Docker. But now I feel like I'm going to, like, when there's a new Docker update, I just wait like a month or two for someone else to do it,
Yeah.
and things to catch up, like when you're updating an OS to something new, wait for other people to test out the bugs and then do it. That's my philosophy now.
Yeah, you don't want to do
I agree.
a Docker update the day after, because you got to wait and make sure that DDev updates if there's any changes, because it'll break. I had the same issue.
Yeah.
And
Frustrating.
also with the first time I installed Docker, it's like set by default to always stay current, always update the latest version. And that was the first time I ran into the problem, and I had to like find some command to like roll it back and then turn that setting off. And crap, I guess I should check to make sure that setting is still turned off now that I've reinstalled it.
It sucks because it can derail, like, same with my permissions thing. Like, I had a whole thing planned that day, a bunch of development work to do. And because of this issue, I suddenly just put that all aside and spent the whole day trying to solve this permissions thing. And it's the same with you. Like, you'd spend potentially hours trying to fix that, and everything else takes a back seat. And it's like suddenly your schedule is totally thrown off. It's very frustrating.
Nothing worse
Yeah.
than when that happens. It really just screws everything up. And it'll just continue to waterfall into the next day and the day after.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I've also had issues where it was a project that I took over, but I believe that like both staging and production were like on AWS, which I'm not familiar with. It intimidates me. It is so over complex. I don't want to use it. I don't like using it. But the staging and production were different. Like they had different versions of MySQL, or they had different versions of the operating system. And it's like, how? Who has let this happen?
Yeah.
Because of course, I updated staging and I was like, hooray, everything works. Let's update production. And that was the problem too. Production was versions behind. So it worked on staging, but then it didn't work on production. And of course, everyone turned and looked at me and was like, what did you do? And I'm like, it's not the code. But still, they're like, what did you do? And so I was the one who had to figure out the difference in permissions. And oh God, it was
Yeah. I used to
mess.
have a staging. I still have a server on DigitalOcean and Forge that used to be my staging environment. Whenever I make a new site, I would handle staging over there before I, put it on their production, because sometimes they already have a site and they're just replacing it, so I can. And sometimes they don't. They're moving to a new server and they haven't set up the new production environment. So I'd have my testing over there. I stopped doing that because Craft will complain about the version you're running, like whether or not you're allowed to run it, if it doesn't see staging in the URL as a subdomain or .test or something that they're checking. And mine didn't have that. It had the word staging in it, but not as a subdomain, so it wasn't working. So it kept kicking me out of the control panel, and that sucks. And that, what you just mentioned, is the other problem, is that there's no guarantee that the environment, if it's on that server, is going to match the environment on their production server. So now I try really hard to have staging whatever on the server that their live site is going to be on, so that I can make sure that everything's the same. You know what I mean? It's important.
PHP versions, like operating system version, MySQL version, The permissions between like the users and the groups, even things like some PHP variables that you can set up, the timeouts, maximum input variables, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a thing today where I'm using a managed host, a VPS server thing with cPanel. It has cPanel as the thing you can manage stuff with. And you know how you can create add-on domains? So basically a completely different domain that points to your server, and you create a folder and it shows up in there. I was trying to do that and it kept failing, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on. And then eventually I wrote tech support and they said, oh, that's just the default cPanel restrictions where they only let you have the root domain. I've turned the thing on for you, so now you can allow other domains. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is included in the plan that I ordered. Like, why do I have to ask you to turn it on?
Yeah.
What if I didn't reach out to them and I thought it was my issue, you know? Very frustrating. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, it's good to make sure that all environments solve all those problems at once, right? So you don't have to deal with the different issues, different environments.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Anyways. Complain. Anyone have anything nice to say?
Complaining.
Anything good to say?
I took a day off of work yesterday. It was great.
That's good. The only nice thing we have to say is when we're not working.
Okay. So I was going to brag a little bit. I got the Crayola Canada website updated to Craft 4.
Oh wow.
Ooh, nice.
The Craft 4.
it
I heard
was-
that is 3 to 4 complex. I heard that switch is complex. Is that right?
Really complex, much more than 4 to 5, in my experience.
If they ask me to upgrade them from 4 to 5, I will laugh and then ghost them. I'm not doing that again. But yeah, big updates done to Craft. I got big updates pushed to Hallmark Canada as well. Look at me name dropping.
Yeah. Wow. Big.
So
big
stuff
clients.
is and a new project starting this week. Yeah.
Well,
I'm excited.
Amanda,
Amanda's
you
busy.
walked me through some CK Editor stuff recently, which thank you very much for that, about what CK Editor can do now.
Did you
as
get
the
it
rich
working?
Text thing. I didn't solve that problem. So the problem was that I have a feature where you can click on text, create a button out of it, and it shows up. It looks like a button in the rich text field, but then when you save the entry, suddenly that doesn't look like the button. It's still there. The tags are still there, but for some reason the display doesn't stay. But I'll figure it out. I don't know what it is. But when you were showing me that, you were using Craft 5, of course, and I wasn't. I was using Craft 4. And I gotta say, it looked pretty cool when you were, opening stuff and they'd slide in, like the blocks slide in from the side rather than these weird collapsible things. It looked pretty sweet. I can't wait to start using 5.
I have a question for Mike.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike, you said that you made the button look like a button inside the rich text editor. Why is that so important when you have live preview and you can just see the button on the page?
I mean, I suppose in that sense, it's probably not. It's just that, I had a block. Here's the block. The block was like a row, and it had 2 different text fields, and one of them is a call to action. And the call to action lets you put a heading, block of text, and a button. And, if without doing that, it just looks like a link, right? The button is just contact us or whatever it is. And when Amanda showed me how to make it look like a button in the thing, it just looked really cool to be able to say, oh, I want this to be a button. Boom. Now it is a button, even when you're not using live preview. Because sometimes I don't use live preview. Maybe clients don't use it sometimes. I don't know.
Okay,
But
fair
technically,
enough. I was
no
just
big deal.
curious what the reasoning was behind it. It wasn't like
You're right. That would solve it. But I mean, since you already have to select the text in CK Editor and tell it to be a button, I figure why not make it look like a button right there in the thing?
See, my approach is a little bit different. When clients need button, I just add like a link field.
Yeah.
And then I style it separately.
Yeah.
There's 1 or 2 sites where they want to be able to add it in the middle of the rich text editor, and they just accept that it's going to look like a link inside the editor.
I can see that, and I usually do that too with the separate button things. But sometimes I just feel like suddenly this block has a ton of fields. You know what I mean? And it sort of
Yeah.
irks me a little bit.
And, and the downside to my approach is that it requires a third-party plugin to do that button thing.
Well, the way you want it to work, you mean? You're talking about link field or something like that?
Yeah, link field or link it, and there is a GitHub issue or discussion in Craft CMS about getting them to have a native field that operates like link field, since link field is now abandoned. It's not upgradable to Craft 4. Fortunately, if you're on Craft, you can use the Verb plugin. What is it called? Hyper, and it has a migration from link field.
It's called Hyper.
Have you guys used that field, Hyper?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to do that. Because
I'm
some of
aware
these
of it. I
projects that I've
haven't used
taken
it
over, a couple of these projects that I've taken over were using link field, but then because they wanted everything updated to Craft 4, I don't think it's in Craft 4 anymore. Anyway, so I had to change redactor to CK editor, and I had to change link field to Hyper.
Okay.
Link field is in Craft 4. It's not in Craft 5. But it was removed before Craft 5 was removed. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's available, but not available.
whatever it was when I went to go and type in my console upgrade or console update or whatever. It then showed that link field is no longer maintained.
Oh, right. Yeah, you got the
So
deprecation.
whatever Craft 4 version that I'm in, it's just I think just from now going forward, maybe it's no longer maintained. So I just replaced it while I was in there doing everything else.
I learned that Statamic, another CMS that I like, has updated to version 5. They have a version 5 out now. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's time to revisit, because I haven't built a fresh site on that in a long time. Mm-hmm. But going back to the server issues we just talked about with permissions and everything else, I'm kind of reluctant to do I really want to dive into this thing again? Because it's been a few years since I've built a site on it. And it's probably very different, and it's like a no database thing. So I'll have to relearn a bunch of stuff, and maybe even relearn certain template code tags or whatever. So it's annoying. I kind of would like to have more than these days. Like you guys, I usually just go to Craft when I need a new site because it can do pretty much everything. But Statamic, I feel, is a good competitor for that. So I'd like to have the two of them, but I don't know.
I think if you've got the time, it would be worthwhile to at least do something locally.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, I would like to know Statamic as well, but it's the time commitment to pick it up that...
He does have, Jack, the creator, has a whole series on YouTube of start to finish creating a site, like contact forms and search and all that stuff. Oh. However, I don't think it's current. It's certainly not for version 5, but maybe it would still work for the most part. I don't know.
I wonder if there's a third-party service like CraftQuest, but for Statamic.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Statamic Quest. Come on, Ryan Ireland, get on it.
Yeah, right. He's got plenty of time for that. He's such a slacker, that guy. So are we going to, just as we wrap up here, are we going to record? We're coming up on the end of the season here. Were we going to do a couple more episodes before we end our podcast season, or what's the plan?
I think we should at least do one more. That's what we were talking about. One more with just the three of us.
Yeah, that'll round it up to 10. That's a good idea. Yeah, we should do one sometime in the next. It's going to have to be quick because it's supposed to be out next week, I think.
Yeah. You got time at lunch? Just pick something off the cuff, record it.
Yeah, I do not. Maybe we should do a clip show. We talked about doing a clip show one time, right? Of that's probably way more work because we're editing.
Not work for me. It's work for whoever does the editing.
Right. That's
volunteer true. Yourself, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. Oh God. Okay.
No, I don't want to do a clip show, regardless of the amount of work. I'd rather just record a whole fresh episode.
It could be pretty funny. I'm thinking of like that sound as you go flashback to when, whatever, Andrew Welch was on the show. Remember that time? We just keep talking to each other. Hey, remember that time Ryan Ireland was on the show and he said that thing, and then we have a clip. Could be funny, but a lot of work.
It would be a ton of work because you got to find the clips, then you got to clip them, and then merge them together with transitions. And oh my god! And I can't imagine how much work it would be.
Come on, AI, get to work, do something. There's a new AI feature in Riverside, by the way, but we don't get it's not on our plan, where you can type in text, and since it knows all of our voices, it will just say it in whatever voice we want it to be, whichever of our voices.
That's kind of scary. I don't really like that.
That's creepy.
I like it a lot,
Actually,
but
it's scary.
we don't get
It's scary that our voices are out there already, so anybody can make us saying whatever they want.
Yep. I tried it, but I just sounded American. It kept giving me an American accent, so it didn't sound very realistic to me, but I'll keep working on it.
I would like to hear some of that. That's funny.
I want to hear Mike
welcome
with a Kentucky accent or something.
It was like, welcome to the Website 101 podcast. It was saying stuff like that, like I was from the Midwest or whatever. Podcast. Anyway.
Nice.
All right. Should we wrap it up?
All right, friends.
Yes,
I think we
let's call it a
should.
day.
Okay.
Goodbye,
Thanks,
friends.
everybody.
Goodbye, watchers.
Bye.